How's it going, guys? Badasstrader here again, and welcome back to Ape Chat. So, finally got some stuff figured out, I think, with this stream, and how I can actually stream on a low latency internet connection or a low upload rate. So I think we're live, and I think everything's good. No, it is not good. Got some drop frames there. Sorry guys, just trying to fix technical things at the same time. Yeah, okay, I think we're good. We got a little lapse of drop frames there, but it seems to be okay now. Desktop audio, do I have mic audio? I do have mic audio. So quick check-in on how the stock is looking today. So I did say we were going to be going up and testing this top range Dorito again. On the daily it's looking like we pushed towards that. In the hourly, we kind of did, right around 13:30 GMT. It was okay. I mean, I was hoping that we'd actually push towards it, and maybe we didn't, and maybe we're not going to. So we were kind of following this trend channel that I had marked off and is gone now. We'll just quickly mark it in there again. So we were following this nice trend, and when you look at it on 5 minute, it respected it quite frequently. Actually, it would have been more, yeah. Am I in auto? I am in auto. Sorry guys, a little unprepared for this stream. I did think we were touching it here as well, but you know, all of these trend lines are generally in ranges anyway, but we have broken down through it now, so I don't suspect we're actually going to go back up on test the Dorito again unless we get a bit of movement in power hour. We do have the 200 moving average on the 5 minute chart. Still available for support. Do we have any other support lines here? Yeah, this would be below it. It's kind of a support line there. Not really. Yeah, so the support lines really are here. So we're matching here, here, and here are touching. But I don't think that's relevant for now because we're way up here. This is kind of a support line. Anyway, enough of that crap. Yeah, so we followed this trend line the whole ways up, and unfortunately we've broken down through it now. So I have a feeling yesterday's movement was, as others have said, the ETF FTDs being covered, and we're probably just going to see the normal sideways trading now for a while again, which has been most of today. You know, we're kind of bouncing around being in the green and not in the green. How are our frames looking? Frames are looking okay, I think. And yeah, so we're looking okay. Sorry, on the stream, not so much on testing the Dorito again, but it's irrelevant because this is our Dorito. They only have until 24th of November for this to break out. So this is basically going to be their last little fight now before we break out of this Dorito. And whether it's going to be the upside or downside, we obviously think it's going to be to the upside. And everything's going to be good there. If you look at this on the hourly, yeah, so like we're essentially in a downtrend here on the hourly now. Pretty much from the point here down. So that's probably what's going to happen over the next while. We could see a big push down here, and I think we probably, you know, could get into range of touching the Dorito again on the support side. The 200 mark is probably going to be a good test, but for the psychological aspect, and it's right on the Dorito. So that's going to be the real test, I suppose, the 200 mark. But from here, this is all that's going to happen, is another trend line going straight back up here and bouncing again. And if it continues and they've got more momentum here, obviously these aren't exact. And the last ditch effort they may have is going to break through. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go like this. I mean, it could just bounce back up and test it again. It could come right down and stay down here and bounce along. But either way, it's going to bounce around in between these two until it breaks up, either to the upside or to the downside. With most of us predicting that it's going to be to the upside because we want a moon soon. We're sick of fucking waiting, right? As I'm sure you would agree. If you do agree, let me know in the comments below. Any questions as well, pop them in the chat. Like, I'm just doing a quick overview on the smooth brain technical analysis side of things here. You know, you don't need to be a genius to understand triangles and support lines and resistance lines. If you don't understand them, or I'm not making sense of anything, you know, feel free to ask me any questions or call me out on it. As I said before, I won't be going into any of the advanced stuff because I'm not that good at technical analysis. I like to keep things simple. I think, in my opinion, overcomplicating things makes it harder when it comes time to make decisions. You know, like there's a whole thing in trading when emotions get involved. You know, if you think you're doing well, you think you're always going to do well. If you think you're, you know, not good at something, you're probably, you know, not going to trust yourself to do it. You can get overconfident. All of these emotions, like the best thing that I've learned, and I was kind of getting off topic here. I was going to go into the GME dividend side of things, and I will in a minute. But the whole thing for me in trading was about building a process and then sticking to that process, because as soon as you let emotion control your trading decisions, you can never kind of optimize it, because you're always going by the, you know, the instinct side of things, which will change, you know, depending on what day you're having or what's going on in your life elsewhere, all of that kind of stuff, and it has a tendency to mess with you, right? Whereas if you put a process in place, even if it's a terrible process, and you stick to that process, it's a lot easier to fine-tune a process if it's not profitable for you than it is to fine-tune your emotions. Now, this is kind of irrelevant for GME because the process is simple: buy, hold, and DRS. Doesn't get more simple than that, you know. Which is why I suppose a lot of us have found our way here. But in terms of all of this, the TA side of things is I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible so that as many of you as possible can understand what I'm going on about, and it doesn't just sound like double Dutch jargon kind of thing, you know. But anyway, on to the main topic of the day is the dividends. So I briefed over this in the last video, thinking that the announcement of whatever the hell it was called, the asset-backed something was irrelevant, and, well, not irrelevant, but that it was more just so that they have like that credit card on hand in case they needed cash. but you know, they didn't really need cash. Obviously a business can need cash at any given time, but you know, they were, you know, more or less out of debt and they had cash in the bank. So and it was 420 in the last year, and now it's gone up to 500. So it's just a small change in the operation side of things, or the financial operation side of things, which is what I thought. But there's actually a lot more underlying stuff going on that I wasn't aware of, and a lot of smooth or wrinkled brain apes went through the 8K filings and found out that some of the changes included the ability to issue a dividend, which is something we've all been waiting for. Now, I did kind of have a quick look myself as well, and it did seem to be referencing a cash dividend versus you know, what we're hoping for in the NFT dividend. Wu-Tang all the way, you know. But besides whether it's a cash dividend or an NFT dividend, the ability to issue a dividend is obviously important, and that's what they have now. So we'll quickly kind of run through this here. So TLDR, the Wu-Tang fractionalized NFT dividend suggested by and not hampered in any way by the new ABL agreement. So the new ABL agreement, ABL is what is asset-backed loan agreement, I think it was. So browsing through the AK, so this is written by Killsec DDDD, so triple D due diligence. So shout out to user Killsec. So browsing through the AK this morning after the ABL announcement, I was looking for one thing: restrictive covenants that would affect GS's ability to issue a dividend. So while he's not a legal or financial professional, some parts stood out to me right away as bullish as fuck. So first, let's find the definition that covers dividends. There it is. So restricted payment means any dividend or other distribution, whether in cash, securities, or other property, with respect to any equity, interest, or holdings, or any of its restricted subsidiaries, or any payment, whether in cash, securities, or other property, including any sinking fund or similar deposit on account of the purchase, redemption, retired, all of this stuff, right? So time to find the nasty parts of the ABL agreement. So negative covenants. So now let's find with the juicy details about restricted payments. So equity interest means with respect to the person of all shares, interest, rights, etc., etc. Right. So that's us. We have equity interest. Cool. So this is what Killsec DDD is pointing out, is referencing us and going into how it is not restricting us in any way for GS to be able to make payments. So restricted payments declare or make any restricted payment, except each restricted subsidiary may declare and make restricted payments to holdings and to its other restricted subsidiaries, and in the case of restricted payment by a non-wholly owned restricted subsidiary to holdings and any of its restricted subsidiaries, and to each other owner of equity interests of such restricted subsidiary, blah blah blah, based on their relative ownership interest to the relevant class of equities. So it seems the shareholders will get their fair share, omitting this because it's not what he's looking for. Fractional share dividends may be paid in cash. Wonder why we need that distinction. Yeah, so this is what I was getting to. So it referenced a lot of cash in there versus the NFT dividend. So it obviously, you know, is factored into the legal terms of all this. So this looks really juicy. The distribution by dividend or otherwise, the asset of which include any material intellectual property in each case which were contributed to such restricted subsidiary by holdings and or any restricted subsidiary. Does that mean a subsidiary restricted or otherwise that contributed to material intellectual property? Isn't there a certain album that would be considered? Yeah, so he's talking about material. It does say material intellectual property, which is very interesting. Nice. Quick summary there by Killsec DD, appreciate that. So there's more of it then. So page 215 in filling. So this is written by Lohi1234. What I can tell with the new loan that they can now issue dividends as long as they are not default on the loan. Yeah, so this is just a little bit extra. So long as no event of default exists or would result therefrom, the distribution by dividend or otherwise of the equity interest of or debt owed to holdings or a restricted subsidiary by unrestricted subsidiaries, the amount of times the same subsidiaries here, other than the equity interests of any unrestricted subsidiary, the primary assets of which are cash and or cash equivalent. So again, specifying that cash equivalent, NFT, you know, and or the assets of which include any material intellectual property in each case which were contributed to such unrestricted subsidiary by holdings and or restricted subsidiary. Jesus, the amount of time they say subsidiary. So basically, as long as they're not in any financial trouble, a dividend can be issued in cash or cash equivalents. I like that they specify cash equivalents because the NFT that we're looking for is a cash equivalent. Nice find there, Lohi1234. So what do you guys think? You know, this is a dividend. This is what we've been looking for. They weren't able to issue this before. I actually wonder. Don't have the link to the AK filing as well. I might look into it myself, but I do wonder if there's restrictions in when they can announce it, because I know that was in place before, where they could only announce a dividend at what do you call those meetings at the end of the year? Shareholder meeting at the end of the year, at the end of the fiscal quarter. So at the shareholder meeting is the only place that, or the only time that they could announce a dividend. So I do wonder if that's changed or if that hasn't changed. Be worth looking into as well. So if you know, obviously they could wait till the end of this fiscal quarter and announce it at the next shareholder meeting, which I think is in the first week of December, somewhere around the 8th of December, something like that. But yeah, so you know, obviously we could wait till the 8th of December, but it would be nice if there was no restriction on when they announce it, and they announce it alongside the announcement of the NFT marketplace. And obviously the potential for the crypto exchange being built in as well. So imagine all that came together: crypto exchange, NFT marketplace, and a dividend announcement. That's game over right there. And you know, being in line with the Dorito of Doom, like, so the speculation is this is going to happen on the 5th of November. So even if all of this, we had to wait for all of this, and you know, the announcement didn't come here, so we're going to get a breakout. But if it did come out on the 5th of November, like, there's not much range room here for any hedges to be working with. So that's just going to blow the roof off it. Obviously, we know it's going to blow the roof off it anyway, but it would just be interesting to see. Well, actually, this is going to be tomorrow, guys. It's so freaking close. If there is something, like, we're sitting here on the eve of the potential of the announcement that's going to trigger the MOAS after the big announcement by BBBY, in order, you know, that kind of sent us up, like this movement here, you know. How's that on the daily? This big movement. So from 194 to 250, and this is based off just the basket meme stocks theory. So another meme stock making a buyback announcement and a partnership announcement, and you know, causing pain for hedgies. Like, this isn't even anything game changing, and it had the potential to break us out of the Dorito of Doom, you know. So imagine, like, even the smallest announcement coming tomorrow, an NFT marketplace, without the exchange announcement or without any dividend announcement, like, that is a potential to blow us up, and then we push up into the pain range, you know. So their pain range is what, up here around 350, anything above 350 really. We know that they do not like that range, the 350 range, and that's why they go through so much effort to push it back down. Look at those two tops right there as well. So that's right on 345, and it lines up with the first squeeze too. So 350, 345, 350, that's their pain point. You know, we're on our way. Like, this whole movement for the last year has been pushing it along the Dorito, and we're just pushing up towards that now. We're not that far away from it. Like, I know, you know, we're at what now, 220 to 345 seems like a lot. You know, it's what, 50% increase. We've seen that in a day. You know, I mean, it's not unheard of. like BBBY went up 80% on its announcement. Or was it BBY? Am I losing my mind here? I'm pretty sure it went up 80%. We'll have a look. So that went from 15 to, yeah, that's close to 80%. And that's not a major announcement. That's not a game-changing announcement. That's just a stock buyback and a partnership. You know, imagine what it's going to do to, well, we all know what it's going to do. It's going to do MOAS. So the other bit of news that's going on at the moment is Citadel Securities asking Florida judges to dismiss the collusion charges alleging Citadel demanded Robinhood, PCO and Crater target stocks, this time citing newest Crater target stocks, newest SEC report on GameStop. So this is interesting, right? And shout out to Ringing Bells for posting this. So Citadel Securities has again asked Florida judge to dismiss the charges accusing the firm of asking Robinhood to restrict chain trading on GameStop and other meme stocks, a move that resulted in losses for small investors. I like how we're called small investors here. That's interesting. So this time the US stock market maker is citing the conclusions set out on the SEC's report on the retail trading mania earlier this year. The US top regulator detailed how the events went down and raised red flags on a number of issues related to the structure of stock markets. However, the report stopped short of laying blame on hedge funds, clearinghouses, or other market participants. And it turned out that Ken Griffin's electronic trading firm says a lot of conspiracy theories floated on social media at the time was simply untrue. So the firm explains that the SEC's report refutes plaintiffs' argument that government investigations are indicative of anti-competitive collusion, and that it was specifically indicative of collusion, that the SEC is investigating the events concerning the January 28, 2021 trading restrictions. So this makes no sense to me, right? So the firm explains that the SEC's report refutes plaintiffs' argument that government investigations are indicative of anti-competitive collusion. So they're saying that in the lawsuit, that the plaintiffs are saying that government investigations are indicative of anti-competitive collusion, so that there shouldn't be like, why would there be a plaintiff argument against that? And that it was specifically indicative of collusion, that the SEC is investigating the events of concerning January 28, 2021. So this, I don't know, like if any of you guys understand this better than me, from a legal perspective, like they're saying that because it's indicative of anti-competitive collusion, and it was specifically indicative of collusion, that the SEC is investigating the events concerning January 28. So they're saying because they investigated the events of January 28, that this counteracts the plaintiff's argument of government investigations. But like the whole point is we're talking about them telling Robinhood to turn off the buy button and then lying about it to Congress. That's the problem. It's nothing to do with government investigations and anti-competitive collusion between governments and hedge funds. I don't remember. I've read through a lot of those lawsuits. There's like fucking 8 of them, and I read through a good chunk of all of those stuff. I don't remember seeing anything to do with that. And if that's one tiny detail in one of the lawsuits, then just stop the lawsuit and issue another one. I don't know. It's kind of stupid. It's like they're trying to find a technicality in order to get out of it, you know? So for context, the SEC found that the hedge funds that shorted GameStop stock not only were able to hedge their bets, but also book substantial profits. Overall, hedge funds were not significantly affected by the short squeeze incident, so the allegations against them appear to be false. So this makes no sense as well, right? So for context, the SEC found that the hedge funds that shorted GameStop stock not only were able to hedge their bets. I don't remember seeing that they were able to hedge their bets and I've read through the SEC GameStop report. I don't remember seeing that. But also book substantial profits. I also don't remember seeing that. All right. All it said basically was that they didn't close their short positions. Right. So overall, hedge funds were not specifically affected by the short squeeze incident. So the allegations against them appear to be false. They weren't affected by the short squeeze incident is just mental. Like even the Melvin bailout proves that they were affected by it. Just because the SEC didn't specifically say that they were, doesn't mean that it's irrelevant, because we know they were. It's public information that they were. You know, why would Melvin Capital need a bailout if they weren't affected by it? It's just stupid. So in addition, the US securities regulator said it found no evidence of the so-called gamma squeeze. That they did say, right? Which is caused by the naked short selling, where investors short sell shares that have not affirmatively determined to exist. Now, just because they found no evidence, right? And that's all they said, was it wasn't a gamma squeeze. They didn't say that there was no naked short selling either, right? And just because they don't specifically say that there wasn't any naked short selling doesn't mean that there wasn't. It just means that's not what the report said. That's not what they investigated. You know, maybe that's an area that they didn't look at. We all know that they had to be very careful in what they did say in the GameStop SEC report. You know, or the SEC's meme stock report, GameStop report. So, you know, like these arguments are just like, if this gets it thrown out, it's crazy. So to support their point of view, the agency officials noted that GME share price maintained its upward trajectory even after the direct effects of covering short positions waned. That's wrong too, because they just said that there was no covering at all. You know, like that the GME price share wasn't caused by shorts covering. That's all they said. It doesn't mean anything else is relevant. They still did all the other shit, you know? So in addition, Citadel said the SEC's conclusion supports its argument that the enforcement of plaintiffs' claims would create conflict between the Exchange Act and the Sherman Act, because the SEC currently investigating January 2021 short squeeze events. So there's a conflict between the... See, this is where they might over-technical themselves out of it, technicality themselves out of it, right? So in the lawsuit, they're saying there's a conflict between the Exchange Act and the Sherman Act. I have no idea what either of those things. I'm not a lawyer by any means. So maybe they're just looking for that technicality in there. So although the SEC noted one narrative that attributed the broker-dealer trading restrictions to pressure from hedge funds and their commercial partners, the SEC instead concluded a number of clearing brokers experienced intraday margin calls from a clearinghouse. In reaction, some broker-dealers decided to restrict trading in a limited number of individual stocks in a way that some investors may not have anticipated, Citadel said in a legal statement. So again, this is beautiful, like, right? So they're still talking about basically you've got no evidence that we told them to turn off the buy button, right? That's the basics of it, right? And then trying to get out of it in a technicality. But whatever about them turning off the buy button, right? So that would be, you know, lying to Congress. That's where like they'd have trouble there, right? So what's that called? Not contempt of court. Very hard to think of these on the spot. I can't think of the name of it, but anyway, right? So whatever about that, right? And I've shown in DD, right, on Reddit, right, that Citadel knew about the change before the market opened, right? So we all know that Citadel was taking the other side of these trades, right? And if they knew about that change before it and they traded on it, that's insider trading, you know? Insider trading is like 40 years potential prison time. Obviously, they probably wouldn't get the max sentence, and it'd probably be, you know, fucking resort compared to normal prisons that they'd be going to. But it's insider trading. Forget about lying to Congress or anything like that. It's insider trading, and I'm pretty sure the FBI deals with that as well. Could be wrong. I'm not American. I don't know the way the system works. So over the last few months, quite a few internet conspiracies and Twitter mobs. I like how they put you down with that, you know. Like put you in your place is all a mob, right? So painted Citadel Securities in a bad light. Oh no, they've been painted in a bad light. The firm asked the court to dismiss a multi-district litigation that centered on allegations that Robinhood and other platforms colluded to freeze stock purchases to spare the market maker losses on short bets. So look, there's a real simple way for this to all go away, right? So the firm asked the court to dismiss a multi-district litigation that centered on allegations that Robinhood and other platforms colluded to freeze stock purchases to spare the market maker losses on short bets. Easy to disprove, right?
give your communications between Robinhood and Citadel to, well, probably not going to be to the public because there would be insider information in there, or, you know, IP or whatever, right? But to somebody, to the courts probably, to show that there actually was no communication whatsoever. And I know there was some discovery done and they did find communication, but nothing specifically saying anything about the buy button, except on the Robinhood side what they thought the call was going to be about with Citadel, right? I mean, like, you see it in movies. Get the phone records and, you know, get all this information that's out there, like, and just show that you didn't do that. Because if you didn't do it, then it should be easy to prove that you didn't do it, rather than trying to find technicalities in fucking Exchange Acts and Sherman Acts to try to get out of it, right? It's like, why go through all this effort if you could just show that you didn't do it, unless you did do it? And, you know, again, like, this is the tip of the iceberg here, right? This is one charge. Like, if you keep trying to get out of it in technicalities, you're going to keep having apes digging into everything, and you're going to get caught for a lot more than just lying to Congress. You're going to get caught for something that's going to be a hell of a lot worse. You've hundreds and thousands of people looking into the company now because you're lying about this. But anyway, over the last few months, quite a few internet conspiracies, we read that. So, but looking at the results of the SEC's investigation, that isn't exactly what happened. Instead, the report describes a process in which massive trading volumes forced retail brokers to temporarily stop or limit offering meme stocks due to capital requirements. It didn't say that, right? Wall Street's central clearing hubs demanded these platforms to deposit billions and more into collateral to shield them from the volatility during the trading frenzy. Okay, that did happen, but it was also cleared before market open. They didn't have to pay it in the end. The surge in trading forced Robinhood to draw millions from its credit lines and turned to existing investors and raise $1 billion to meet margin requirements. We all know what happened there. So other defendants and antitrust action, including Interactive Brokers, E-Trade, Ali Financial, and Apex, filed separate memos supporting their motion to dismiss claims for negligence and antitrust. I don't know, guys. What do you think? You know, this is all a bit much for me in my head. I don't understand it all to start with, but it just seems like they're trying to wriggle their way out of it because they've got nothing else that they can do. You know, rather than actually putting evidence forward or having a rant on Twitter to say, "Oh, we're actually really good guys. We're the only ones who kept the markets open on that day," and all this bullshit that came out of there. It's a lot easier just to prove that you didn't do what you're saying you didn't do, rather than doing all this shit, you know. And your media campaigns, and you're getting Ken Griffin on, you know, to get the Ken Griffin crime thing trending. You know, Ken Griffin talks about Chicago crime. And fair play to the lads for out SEOing them. But anyway, look, that's all I'm going to say about it, because I don't know enough about it. But basically, this just seems like desperate last acts to me. And unless anybody sees it as anything else, that, you know, they're just trying to wriggle their way out of it, feel free to let me know in the chat or in the comments below. Okay, so sorry, I'm just seeing a chat here that didn't show up in my chat window for some reason. So, welcome B1 RD Bear. Do you think the time and NFT marketplace announcement with the end of the Dorito? Yeah, so in terms of timing and the NFT announcement with the end of the Dorito, that would be beautiful. But I honestly think we're actually in the end of the Dorito anyway, so anything that comes between now and the 24th of November is going to have massive impact, because it's like a coil that's been wound up, you know. It's ready to explode, and if it's like the NFT marketplace, that's like the small announcement, right? If it's the NFT marketplace in addition to an NFT or a cryptocurrency exchange or a stock exchange, that they're going to be a decentralized stock exchange or a decentralized crypto exchange, that's a bigger announcement. Then you add that to an NFT dividend, like that's a massive announcement. Now, if it was me and I'm rank Conan, I'm nowhere near his level of, 4D chess, right? But putting all those together, if you wanted it to fucking go through the roof, like you could do that very easily, and then you got the trifecta of impact that is going to happen on the stock, but yeah, so anytime between now and the 24th of November, if they announce that, it's going to like add to the breakout on the Dorito. So yeah, it's kind of crazy, but it's weird now that chat didn't come up. Sorry, I've been trying to figure out all the technical stuff of this stream. I'm used to having a much better internet connection, and I had a pop out for the chat which I didn't see. Let's see, does this work? No, I don't know why that's not working. Oh, it did. Okay, we'll get better at this part. But yeah, so look, Citadel. These seems like last-ditch efforts for Citadel. We're in the giant Dorito. This is I'm doing there for a second. They know it's coming. We know it's coming. Like so what date is it? It's the 4th of November. So they have 20 days. I don't know how many trading days that is, but it's not a whole lot of time to fight for their one last day thing that Ken likes to talk about. On the hourly chart, how are we looking on the 5 minute now since I started? Oh, we got a bit of support there. Nice. That is below our last support line. What's that bouncing off? That's the 100. The 100 5 minute moving average. So it respected that nicely. So we didn't have to go down as far as the 200 5 minute moving average. So yeah, I'd like to see that now coming into, so we're in time zones, so we're finishing in an hour and 25 minutes, so this is a nice movement coming into power hour, which is good. What I like to see, I'd love to see us push back up towards the top of the Dorito today. Thanks for joining the stream, B1 or D Bear, and thanks for everyone else for watching. I'm going to leave it here for the moment. But yeah, I'm going to try to figure, well, first off, once I get better broadband, so I just moved house here to London, and we're basically running on a 10 megabyte download and a less than 1 megabyte upload. Hey Dan, welcome to the chat. Your message was retracted. Okay. So yeah, less than, so I'm on a 0.5 megabit upload. So trying to stream with that. I'm getting a lot of drop frames, but I've dropped everything down. So I've dropped the bit rate down. I've dropped the resolution down. So I should be able to stream at this rate going forward. But hopefully I get a better. Yeah, but even doing this then, so it's messing up the chat, it's messing up everything. But once I get a better broadband connection, I should be able to do this a bit more frequently and have a bit more stuff prepared as well. So the idea of the stream, guys, basically is not just to talk about the technical analysis. I am going to do some technical analysis, but I'm not like a pro tech TA trader. I'm very, very basic, and I know for me, like a lot of the Fibonacci stuff and all of that kind of stuff, it like obviously the guys know what they're talking about, and it works as well, the people who do talk about this stuff. But you know, while I do listen to it, it can be hard to follow. It can definitely be hard to make decisions on, and it can kind of overcomplex things for me personally, or complicate things. So I try to keep things simple with my trading, and that's the kind of stuff that I'm going to talk about in terms of technical analysis. So support, resistance, trend lines, big giant Doritos, and you know, nothing overly complex, and kind of take that approach in terms of what GME is doing. And you know, if that's something that you're interested, then definitely tune in. And obviously then the other side of things we're going to talk about is the community side of things, because I don't see a lot of talk going on in terms of the community side of things, in terms of the DD side of things. You know, obviously I have a bit of a DD background myself. Again, not anything too technical, more about how, you know, the 1% manipulate the tax systems. And feel free to check out the Billionaire Boys Club on Reddit. There's about, I think, 14 episodes there that I've been writing over the last few months. So obviously I'll be talking about some of that stuff, especially with so I have a couple coming up. I won't say what they are just yet, but they're going to be interesting, I think, especially coming into the new age that we're going into with Meta and WWW3 and all of this NFT stuff. So I don't understand a lot of it myself, but I'm learning as I'm going and listening to the community and other apes who do know stuff about this. So as I'm learning, I'll kind of talk with you guys about it as well, so that maybe you can learn alongside me. So that's kind of it. If you like that as an idea for a stream, feel free to let me know. Yeah, that's kind of it. It's basically the smooth brain side of things rather than the overly pro trader side of things that we're going to be talking about. And maybe we'll talk about some of the shit stuff too, the shit posts and the memes, stuff like that, anything that's kind of fun. So that's it, guys. I'll probably check back in again tomorrow for just before the opening bell, to have a look at what went on today and to have a look at what could potentially be coming up in the 5th of November. Remember the 5th of November. And yeah, and hopefully we can actually do this live versus my premiere video that went out today, which was also a disaster because it only processed the standard version of the video, and my connection couldn't handle the processing or the upload for the HD version. It will eventually come, but it's like so slow, it's ridiculous. So yeah, that's it, guys. Any questions, feel free to let me know. There's in the link in the description below, there's a link to subscribe. Obviously subscribe. I've got a big fancy button that I put in here. Is it gonna work? Oh, it's not gonna work. How did that fail me now? Is it because... No, I have no idea. Anyway, there's a button below there. Hit the like button and hit the subscribe button and all the other stuff that makes YouTube like your content, so then I can get other people to see my content. I'm totally selfish that way. But other than that, there's also a link to Discord in there as well if you want to just drop in, chat. We've got a good few apes in there talking some interesting and some shit stuff, and that's how it goes. But yeah, okay guys, have a good evening.